Now, achievement hunting can be a fun activity for any player looking for additional challenges in their game. However, when searching for what kind of achievements you want to get, it's important to sort them by their difficulty, and that's not always as simple as it might seem at first glance. Some achievements might pretend to expect something easy out of you, but in reality, attempting to get them, and emphasis on attempting, is far more complicated. And that's what we're here to talk about today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 deceptive video game achievements that sound easy to get, but actually aren't. Number 10, the Fishing Diplomat. World of Warcraft. Now, World of Warcraft has a reputation for having some of the hardest, weirdest, and most infamous achievements in the world of MMORPGs. Things like killing powerful bosses, mass completing quests, or racing with other players for #1 spots in various competitions are all a WoW achievement hunter's bread and butter. For this reason, the achievement, the Fishing Diplomat, might seem like a kind of little break from all of this insanity, as it only wants you to fish something up in Orgrimmar and Stormwind. It doesn't even specify what sort of fish you need to catch, so surely it can't be that hard, right? Well, seeing as these places are the capital cities of the Horde and the Alliance, going on a simple fishing trip to either of them is just about as safe as jumping into a volcano. Whether you're Horde or Alliance, you'll have to somehow enter your enemy's headquarters, slip past unnoticed to the nearest body of water, and then hope you have just enough time to catch a fish before somebody sees you and stabs you in the back. Fishing Diplomat, more like Fishing Survivor. Number 9, Reader. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Now, Reader is an achievement in Skyrim that requires the player to read 50 skill books. Between slaying dragons and saving the world, reading a few dusty old tomes seems like a walk in the park. And yet, if you look at the global stats of all of Skyrim players out there are fewer players with this achievement than there are those who've completed the game. And why is this? Well, despite the fact that there are 90 skill books in total, finding even half of them is quite challenging. Most dungeons you enter are littered with books, but these are just regular volumes that don't provide the player with any benefits. On top of that, the books tend to be copies of each other, so even after visiting 3 different dungeons, you might still walk away with only 1 or no skill books to read. Since there aren't any merchants who specialize in selling skill books, you'll have to rely on scavenging the world for them. And since fresh unread volumes are such a hard find, you might end up looking through what feels like the entirety of Skyrim before you find 50 of them. The pen is mightier than the sword and all that, I guess. Number 8, Hot Date. Baldur's Gate 3. Now, each of the primary companions in Baldur's Gate 3 has an achievement tied to them. They range in difficulty quite a bit, as the one for Astarion requires you to get bitten by him, whereas the one for Lysel wants you to defy a god and lead a revolution against her. Yeah, some of your friends are a bit pickier than others, it seems. However, there is also another achievement in this category that sounds quick and easy, but in theory actually isn't. Hot Date, a reward for taking Karlach on a date. Just one date? Well, seems simple enough, except the game doesn't specify when the date takes place, and when you find out, you'll probably realise that romancing the god-fighting Lysel would have earned you an achievement faster. You see, the date in question takes place in Act 3, meaning you'll have to maintain your relationship with Karlach for all 3 acts, fanning the flames of romance throughout most of the game and making sure no wrong choices or one of the many bugs ruins it. Well, no one said love was easy, I guess. Number 7, Circle of Life, Dishonored 2. Now, one of the supernatural abilities available to Corvo in Dishonored 2 is Possession, which allows him to enter the bodies of different enemies. The achievement called Circle of Life requires you to use this ability to chain possess every single creature in the game in a single cast. In theory, this achievement is as simple as upgrading your possession powers and then jumping between different creatures before you run out of time. In practice, the achievement requires you to explore the entire game in search of the perfect location to execute your plan. Because the list of enemies you'll need to possess includes every single creature, there are only a couple of locations where it's possible to perform the necessary chain possession. This means you'll first have to reach the correct levels, then find the spot where all of the creatures are relatively nearby, and then finally use possession within a short amount of time. The process is pretty time consuming and takes a lot more prep than simply exploring the world and randomly coming across an opportunity to attempt this achievement. Number 6, Triple Play, Sims 4. Despite being a simple game of life, The Sims 4 comes with a surprisingly large and complex list of achievements. Some of them are as easy as not talking to anyone, while others require you to reach the top of a career or achieve something supernatural. However, there is one fairly simple sounding achievement among them that in reality might be one of the hardest challenges in the game, Triple Play. This achievement requires you to give birth to triplets, and although the game comes with a ton of fertility perks and bonuses that should make this as easy as pie, in reality, even with the right ones, systems, you're at the mercy of the RNG gods. At the end of the day, whether you get 1, 2, or 3 children in a single birth is completely up to chance. So no matter how much you improve your chances of getting twins and triplets, you still might end up spending hours trying to get this achievement. And then you'll spend even more time and effort trying to raise the 3 additional Sims in your household. Or I guess you could just start a new save. You absentee Sims player, you. Number 5. Humpty Dumpty, The Witcher 3. Humpty Dumpty is one of those achievements from The Witcher 3 that sounds like something you'd completely naturally just get by playing the game. It requires you to push 10 people off of a cliff using the Ard sign, which, considering how quickly you learn this power and how much an average gamer loves pushing NPCs off of high things, well, it feels like a match made in heaven. And yet, when compared with the other Witcher 3 achievements in global rankings, Humpty Dumpty is still fairly rare because there's just one big issue with it. You see, the achievement asks for human victims specifically, and it just so happens that there are only a few locations where human enemies spawn near cliffs. Moreover, most of these locations don't have enough men to cover the 10 people mark, meaning that in order to get the achievement, you either have to scour the land and look for more human-populated cliffs, or find one that will spawn them for you endlessly. Both options are quite time-consuming, so even though dropping bandits off cliffs is fun, don't expect to have a lot of it obtaining this reward. Number 4. Prairie King, Stardew Valley. Prairie King is an achievement in Stardew Valley for beating the minigame of the same name. The Journey of the Prairie King is an arcade machine located in the back of the saloon that allows you to play a top-down shooter in your spare time. The minigame is surprisingly complex, but since it's a minigame inside a cozying farming sim, you might assume that it won't be much of a challenge to beat it. Well, until you start playing it, that is. The more you progress through Prairie King, the more you realise that the game isn't really mini at all. It features 3 increasingly more difficult stages with 23 levels in total and 3 boss fights thrown into the mix. The last stage of the game, the Graveyard, becomes so complex and riddled with enemies you will have to learn proper strategies in order to beat it, and even then it will still take you several attempts to finish. You'll be cursing the name of that wizard in the final level so much that you might actually turn into some sort of curse-casting warlock yourself. Number 3. Outside Context, Stellaris. Stellaris, Paradox Interactive sci-fi grand strategy, incorporates a mechanic that allows you to invade primitive planets that haven't achieved proper space traveling technology yet. Pre-FTL is sending a single army unit over to the desired planet, but this being said, if you want to get the Outside Context achievement, it'll take far more than that. On the surface, all the achievement requires you to do is invade a pre-FTL planet while its residents are at war. However, because of that one simple clause about war, this achievement turns from one of the most basic actions in the game into the hardest gamble of your life. The thing about wars is that unlike other information about the primitive civilizations you visit, they aren't mentioned anywhere. You have no way of knowing if the civilizations you invade are currently at war with one another, and since this event is randomly generated, you'll have to blindly attack every primitive planet you see, hoping at least one of them has the correct prerequisites for the achievement. Don't worry though, it's not mass genocide, I swear, it's just for the achievements, which is somehow even worse. Number 2. Hello Cleveland, Sid Meier's Civilization 6. Hello Cleveland is an achievement from Sid Meier's Civilization 6 that requires you to perform a concert in Cleveland using one of the rock bands that you can create in the late game. On paper, this sounds like an easy get. After all, you could just rename one of your cities to Cleveland and play a concert there, right? Well, no. It turns out the game actually tracks if the city you play in is actually the American Cleveland or just a convenient lookalike, meaning you have to keep an eye out for a specific city. This is even further complicated by the fact that Cleveland is so far down the list of cities America can found that even if you choose to play as the US to make the process of spawning the city easier, you still have to pump out a load of settlements to get Cleveland. Despite its straightforward objective, the achievement actually involves quite a bit of random luck and planning to get. It's a lot more work than simply walking over to a city and pressing a button, so don't think you can get through all of this acting like a rock star. And number 1, Borderlands 2. The description of the achievement, from Borderlands 2 says that it requires you to wield the mysterious amulet. It sounds easy enough. All you have to do is get your hands on a specific item, and even if it's tied to a difficult mission or a boss fight, it shouldn't take up that much time or effort, right? Well, if that's what you think, you're technically right. The amulet in question does not take time or effort to acquire, it just takes a ton of cash that you'll have to devote all your time and effort to gathering instead. The mysterious amulet is a unique relic acquired inside Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep. It's tied to its very own mission, where the player can purchase it for anywhere between $10,000 and just shy of $100 million, aka the highest amount of money in the game. The cost of the prize scales with your level to make it extremely high no matter when you do this quest, in order to ensure purchasing the amulet is as painful and as difficult as possible. Of course, you can simply try to kill Mr. Miz, but this won't drop the amulet and actually prevents you from getting the achievement altogether. Well, you know what? This all seems like an appropriate response to all of this nonsense. And there we go, my friends. Those are 10 deceptive video game achievements that sound easy to get, but actually aren't. I hope you enjoyed that, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. Hope you're treating yourself well, my friends. Big love to you all, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.